Whether you trade Bitcoin or not, this information is something I don't see a lot of people talking about that you guys need to know if you're going to be trading currencies and commodities like gold into the future. Okay, so right now we are seeing the decimation of crypto. In fact, as we speak, this particular week alone has seen a 30% drop on the most powerful or stable of the cryptos, Bitcoin. 30% in a week, you guys, that is absolute decimation. And that's an incredible amount of time or amount of percentage to do in one single week, let alone that we've already been falling from the previous high. We are now at 70% discount. Now, of course, what the crypto people will say, and I do own some crypto, full transparency, long term, I think it's still a decent buy. It's not the thing I'm going all in on or by any means, but what the crypto people will say is, oh yeah, this is pretty cyclical, right? We are seeing what we always see, an 80% dip and then a rally. Well, let me give you guys one little bitty scary fact. We have never seen Bitcoin in a different environment than a dovish Fed and, printing money like crazy. We are seeing the ugly truth or ugly reality of when the money stops flowing, what happens to an asset that is super high risk like Bitcoin. Now, the reason I said that this is important to currency traders and commodity traders out there is because what we're seeing right now is a reflection of a very similar thing we're seeing in the stock market, what we're seeing in the currency market, and let me show you the inverse correlation that we don't want to see, but unfortunately for the crypto people out there, we are seeing. So as Bitcoin falls, what's going up? The dollar. The dollar has been flying to the moon as people are going cash heavy and getting out of high speculative investments. And that carries over from the currency world into all sorts of other places. Take a look, for example, when we take a look at things like gold and silver, which silver, people have been pulling their money out of that. Gold has been sold off pretty hard. But even so, when we take a look at things like the U.S. stock market, here's the S&P 500, here's the NASDAQ, we're seeing a common thread here that goes beyond just Bitcoin or any of these markets in isolation. We are seeing people hog on to their cash, want to go into safe havens and get far away from risk assets. So that is again why we are seeing the US 10-year up. That's why we're seeing the dollar up. We are seeing people flock to the safe havens and run very far away from the super high risk stuff. Now, again, to the crypto people, here's what I would say. And I'm not trying to pick on anybody because, of course, crypto is something that I own a little bit of myself. But we're seeing Ethereum at 1,093. This is incredible. We haven't seen these numbers since I was, this was like early college for me. Actually, I guess, yeah, I was watching Ethereum and Bitcoin way back here, and we are hitting those levels again. This, you guys, unfortunately, is the reality of a market that is no longer got fun money all throughout it, right? Think about this logically for a second. Here's my opinion on Bitcoin and crypto in general. I think it has more pain. The problem is we are seeing an environment where people are struggling to pay their super high rent. They're struggling, you have rent, you have groceries, right? So we'll say store, and we have, of course, the big one that we all know about, gas. As the oil market goes up, here's U.S. oil. Look at that. The oil market's going up. People wondering why they're paying so much at the pumps. There's your reason, right? And all of this combined, here's my theory on what's going on. Before this, we have not seen until recently such a pressure put on the consumer nearly this much. In fact, we saw something in 2020 where the consumer was a little bit under pressure, but then the Fed started printing their money. And sure enough, Bitcoin, Ethereum, they benefited from those things. We saw crypto, unfortunately for the crypto bulls, super correlated to what the Fed was doing. When the Fed was pumping money into the system, crypto looked great. Now, when the Fed is removing money from the system, unfortunately, it's seeing the opposite effect. Now, why am I so caught up on that? Well, here's why. The crypto bulls, myself included, I would have liked to have seen crypto not be so correlated to other risk-on assets like stocks and high-risk currencies. Why? Because again, the theory for a long time was that when the markets tanked and when inflation happened and your fiat currencies went to nothing, that crypto would fly to the moon, and there would be a resurgence in people wanting to hold on to their crypto due to the safe haven, quote unquote, because they don't make any more of it, aspect, or there's only a limited number of coins that can be mined. The problem is we're not seeing that. The problem is we're seeing the exact opposite. We are seeing almost a perfect correlation to high-risk assets with crypto in general. That, to me, is a major red flag, and why, personally, I will still hold my Bitcoin. I will still hold my Ethereum. Longer term, I think it's not the end of the world. But in the short term, I think that there are dark days ahead for crypto in general. I know I'm already saying that after the fact, of course, but look at this. I mean, we broke levels of support, instantly found sellers on the weekly chart. I mean, for me, any pullbacks on the cryptos right now are just not to be trusted. Every single rally here has been met with sellers, even more so than something like the stock market, which, by the way, I'm getting crushed on that too. So full transparency, I'm not out here saying, oh, I've got it all figured out and I'm making a bunch of money on everything. I'm not shorting crypto. I'm not shorting the stock market. So I'm long on both things and having an excellent summer so far. I'm having a hot guy summer out here, losing all my money in crypto and stocks. I'm kidding. We're fine. But I will say, a lot of people out there are getting smoked by this stuff. And this is, I'm not saying by any means, I'm not laughing at anybody saying I told you so. I believe that crypto has value to a degree in the long term. That's why I have a small position in crypto overall. According to my, net worth, it's not like I've got 100% of my money in it, but I do have money long. And I do think that, if you're super bullish long term, if you're willing to sit there and take money and put it into something, let me just be very, very clear. If I had to choose between putting money in stocks or putting money in Bitcoin, let's think about this. Okay. If we're going stocks versus Bitcoin for a second, you guys, where do you think about your answer? And for those of you guys who made it this far in the video, do me a favor, comment where you'd put your money. Are you going into stocks? If you had $100,000 that you had to dump in either stocks or Bitcoin, please comment down below. I'd be very curious to open up a discussion about this. All right, here's my answer. If we're going one or the other, stocks all the way. And let me tell you why. Dark days are ahead of us. We are seeing ugly times. Inflation levels that are very, very high. A Fed rate hike cycle that is in its early stages and, ramping up. We are seeing the fun money get pulled out of the markets. So if I had to invest, if I had to stick money into the markets right now, it's going into stocks. Because here's why. We have no historical data on Bitcoin in a market environment like this. High levels of inflation, terrible market conditions, low tolerance for risk. To me, it's like run very far from the super high risk stuff. Now, stocks is still high risk, but let me tell you why I like stocks. If I'm picking between the two of these, I'm going stocks all the way, baby, because stocks generate money. Of course, not all of them. But to me, I'm picking stocks. I'll show you guys some of the stocks that I own. Of course, not all of them are super high profit makers, but a lot of them are. Costco, Disney, JP Morgan, Home Depot, Microsoft, Intuitive Surgical, Target, SPY, right? Or buying the index. This is generally going to be putting money into stuff that makes money and long-term should survive. Not all of them will. Probably some of them will die. But here's the thing. With crypto, going back to my theory for a second, we have no historical data of crypto in a market environment like this. Crypto, for all intended purposes, in my personal opinion, could go to absolutely zero. And I'm not saying that I think that that's going to happen, because when I take an investment, I understand that I don't know everything. I understand that uncertain things can happen. I mean, look at this year, look at 2020, we've seen uncertain things happen. So my point with saying that is that it's not that I'm a bear on crypto per se, but if I had to, and we all have limited amounts of money, right? Every single person on planet Earth has a limited amount of capital that they can invest. If I had to pick, and I know that most of my following, not everybody has $100,000 to stick in something. So just the theoretical question, theoretical, if I can get that word out, question is, if I got to stick money in stocks or I got to stick money in crypto, where's it going? Again, I feel like we have more historical data to back up stocks in the long term than we do Bitcoin. Again, what the crypto bulls would say in almost every scenario would be, hey, it rallies and then it drops by, these 90% dips. And because that's happened in history, it's going to happen again. And then it's going to make a ton of money. And please, someone, if you watch this 2 years from now and I'm completely wrong about this, feel free to comment and let me know, because maybe I will be wrong about this, but I'm not really concerned about the gains as much as I am concerned about the integrity of my trading and investing overall. If I have to make an informed decision about whether I'm putting money in stocks, things that generate money and will likely survive in the long term, because we've seen them in Fed hawkish cycles, compared to Bitcoin and crypto, I'm going stocks all the way. Now, let me be perfectly clear with my personal opinion here. I'm still holding some crypto. I actually own crypto at much lower prices than current levels. I'm fortunate enough to have been buying this thing years and years ago. I know I sound a little bit arrogant there, but I genuinely have. Now, to be fair, I'm probably not up a lot anymore because I have built over time a little bit of position on Bitcoin. But just full transparency, I do plan on actually holding both. Just a much, much smaller percentage in this than in this. I'm definitely more willing to go longer term, heavier into stocks than I am into crypto. Will I add to crypto? Possibly. Maybe I'll add a little bit. But I'm talking, when I say a little bit, what I'm talking about is like 2% of my investment worth going into something like crypto. 98%, well, maybe not 98%, but let's say 90% of what I'm going to, well, no, actually, you know what? Let me think about this for a second. Let's say 65 to 70% of what I will invest will go into stocks. The spread between that will be actively traded stuff that I trade currencies and commodities with, which you guys see on the channel all the time. So that leaves that spread, which I already have deposits in, but I do plan on making deposits throughout this year. I am personally in a good enough financial situation. I have other sources of income. I have my business and my day-to-day work that I'm doing on YouTube and things like that I'm able to sort of invest. And I know a lot of my audience does as well. If you're a young person and you have a cash flowing business, you have a cash flowing job, you have a cash flowing side hustle, maybe, what I used to do back in the day before I started any of the YouTube stuff or starting my business or working as a software engineer, any of that stuff, before I did any of that, I was cutting grass and taking those paychecks and putting them right into my stock account. So anybody can do it. If anybody can, if you're finding side hustles, do whatever you can. Of course, your investment choices are your own. I'm not a financial advisor, so please don't take this as financial advice. This is just my personal opinion on how I will be handling it. I will be taking money that I make from other sources, and I will be funneling it into investments over time during these times, because despite how doom and gloom everything looks, I believe that there are some excellent opportunities in the crypto and stock world alike. So wherever you choose to go, please let me know down below in the comment section. Again, let's have a conversation about it. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say about it. Thank you very much for tuning in to the video today. Make sure to smash the like button, subscribe, and see you later.